Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe, and I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. Welcome to this episode. It's Tricia, and this is a rewind or time travel episode. I'm sharing with you content that was either created long ago. This podcast has been around for a while, and I'm either sharing something from long ago, or it may be something that is exclusive content from something from a class that I actually have offered in intuitive development or my modern mystic community. And at any rate, it is certainly here to help you to experience your charmed life, the magic of life, the magic of you. In the following, you will see or hear that I am listening to spirit guides in the moment. I'm channeling and listening and sort of mediumistically allowing that content for the class to come through for the class. Now, when I'm channeling a message, you might hear that I'm talking about you can visit an etheric city. The city of the seven rays is what I specifically begin to talk about, just a little bit of a teaser. And you can visit it telepathically. You can astral travel to it. And if you're wondering, how could I do that? How could I make such a journey to be able to visit an etheric city, such as the city of the seven rays, the Lemurian etheric city? Well, then you might be interested in the Ultimate Intuitive Expansion Program, Astral Mastery. In this program, we are discussing things such as astral projection and intuitive dreaming, lucid dreaming, telepathy, remote viewing, all of these skills of actually working more in a more advanced way with your intuitive abilities and working in your astral essence. Now, you may be someone who's really interested in astral projection or not. It's not only about astral projection and having out-of-body experiences. That is one part of it. There are many other skills that we cultivate and develop in this program. Like I said, including bilocation, remote viewing, and also just all of your intuitive abilities. We get to the brass tacks of expanding intuitive abilities, meaning your psychic abilities, and being able to have that communication with non-physical and to occupy, co-occupy, if you will, your non-physical essence as you occupy yourself physically. And we also do very grounded experiences like shamanic manifestation. I'm sharing this with you now because I want you to think about it as we go into this class on Lemuria, because it is available now for you to join. And you can join in one of two ways still, and that is as a class participant, a live class participant. And the live class participation is that if you sign up right now, you get your content delivered right now, and it's going to be dripped out by week. And also, we meet every single week. Well, I should say there are some gap weeks, of course, but we meet weekly to be able to review content, get new classwork, and to have Q&A time. So it is both on demand, meaning you don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to wait for the next time it's available. You get it now, and you can pace yourself as it's being delivered each week, and you get a live class meeting. Now, the other part that you get is access occasionally to our sacred sphere time. And what I mean by occasionally, that's just for those who are in the live class participation version of it, because there's also a full coaching version that is currently available. Registration on that one is going to be closing for a certain time soon. And anyway, you get to see the replays of Sacred Sphere. And then you also get invited to Sacred Sphere every now and again to receive readings from the amazing practitioners who are taking that full part of the program. So that is my invitation to you. And that's for the live class participant. If you want to expand your intuitive abilities, if you want to expand in these more advanced, if you will, non-physical skills such as remote viewing, telepathy, astral projection, astral viewing, and to be able to have lucid dreams and to be able to do intuitive dreaming, really to just expand your entire essence. It's called Astral Mastery because the word astral is about the stars. So it's occupying your star essence, the true star essence that you are, because we're all made of stardust, right? And then the spiritual qualities of that is actually our existential right. This is where we are. It's also a very forward-moving program, considering that we're talking about really moving into a different era, a stellar era, an era where we are collaborative with our star brothers and sisters. This is the advance that we're moving forward to. Ooh, I should also mention there is a strong dose of human design in it, because human design is probably the best way to enhance your intuition, as well as decondition and just be more truly of who you are. So that's what's going on in this program. As I said, there is a live coaching version of it, so you could take one or the other. In the live coaching version, like I said, we're going to close enrollment for that for just a period, but the live class participant is available. And so just check it out. You want to read through the whole thing and get a feel for it. If you are a generator or a manifesting generator, go with what your sacral tells you right away. And if you are an emotional type of any kind, then meaning like you have a defined emotional center in human design, then you might sleep on it or, take a day or two with it. And, and if you're splenic, then you're going to feel that right now too. So, I just want to invite you to, because my heart and soul is in this. And this is actually a little bit of a teaser, level 1 to level 2. This is a personal spiritual development program. Those who are professional will be able to utilize it in their profession right away. And level 2 is for becoming a spiritual practitioner in more advanced ways, including spiritual hypnosis, actually intuitive kinds of therapeutic models, channeling and mediumship and all of that. So that's what we have for you. And I just wanted to make sure I made another heartfelt invitation before, especially before if you're interested in the coaching version of it, before that closes for a time. Astral Mastery, check the description. It's really fun, and I hope to see you there. And now for the content of this episode. Welcome to our class on Lemurian unicorns, and we'll be talking about Lemuria, past, present, and future. And we are going to talk about unicorns who are with us, supporting us as ambassadors of these epochs of both humanity and the race of Lemurians. Let's dig right in. So I'm going to start with talking a bit about Lemuria. Now, many of you, if not all of you, probably have heard of Lemuria, and it's often discussed synonymously with Atlantis. And so I'll just put some of it in I guess, context for us. Lemuria existed or began, I guess you might say, this society, this race. Race is not really the right word. It's really epoch of beings on Earth from many different star systems, and kind of came together as one, just like a melting pot, kind of like the United States is and many other countries. The Lemurian Civilization, there were many different star races, and it began about 4.5 million years ago and continued such as it was in the area and the way that it was established until about 12,000 years ago. So quite a long time, and many millions of years. The physical location, when it had a physical location in the from its inception, it's like the Pacific Ocean, around in the Pacific. So that includes British Columbia, Hawaii, Fiji, some parts of Madagascar, and also like the Pacific Northwest. So California, Oregon, Washington. So that's all kind of this big, wide encompassing area of land. So it was land in that area. And then it literally sank in one day. Their land sank in one day. So it actually existed before and through the Atlantean period. So Lemuria predates Atlantis and continued as the Atlantean period, and established and began, if you will. And they actually sort of, I guess you might say, partnered a bit, because of both going through the demise that they both experienced. So back to when they had the land that was there in that Pacific area, it literally sank and it sank in like one day. And it is said that this occurred because of the misuse of the spiritual technology and essentially the vibration being lowered. But it wasn't total, because the Lemurian race, gosh, again, I hate that word race, but civilization still mostly maintained a high vibration. But there was, I guess maybe you would say, there was a shift. With Atlantis, there was a lot more crazy stuff that went on. Atlantis actually got very egoic and started to deeply misuse their technology, doing crazy things like hybridizing different kinds of animals, hybridizing different animals and humans, like creating different kinds of cloning, and then also doing things that were just, practicing, testing the limits of their sovereignty, and just terrible things. But once again, we wouldn't say necessarily that was every single being of the Atlantean period either, but it was enough that the technology sort of needed to be diluted and forgotten. So it was back to Lemuria. It was some kind of cataclysmic event. It was volcanoes that erupted. So some would say that the goddess Pele took action, and that's one way to look at it, or you just look at it in that the balance of the energies were interrupted or disrupted, and so natural occurrences caused the land to literally be uprooted, and then it sank. So there was that's basically how it happened. The actual Lemurian beings, they were and are, because they do exist still, 5D, fifth dimensional, but they were also 3D. And so this means that they could transition between, they could trans-dimensionalize themselves, so they could exist as a third dimensional being, or they could shift into their fifth dimensional light body, and they could just do this at will. And that was very common in Atlantis as well, or it was, Atlantean. And there were some of the beings who would say maybe stay 5D, and that was mostly how they occupied. What they occupied was more of the fifth dimensional body, and then there were some maybe who occupied the 3D body more. But the consciousness, the collective consciousness was 5D included, 4 and 3, and so the bar of the frequency was this fifth dimensional, and then those who could switch into the third dimensional form could still maintain the higher consciousness. So they did this all of the things that they were, how they existed, this golden age of not just transdimensionality, but also all of the I guess you would say their etheric or psychic abilities were just a part of everyday life. And they did this by the energy of the heart, and particularly with the transitioning between dimensional presentations, they used the energy of the heart to simply have it intentionalized and then just allow it to become, which seems like really esoteric to us, but it's actually how we still operate. We still manifest by having an intention first. Nothing ever exists without intention first. But they were able, the facility of the actual heart center, heart energy, was how they caused things to be. And they thought or moved with the solar plexus, and still do. And this is, again, exactly how we operate as well. So their technology was based they utilized crystals to amplify frequencies, and they used sound and vibration and other ways that you would utilize and harness energy to where it influenced the atomic reality. And so this is how they were able to like shift from different kinds of bodies that were more material and third density, and then into the lighter forms of body. It was just basically like changing clothes. You know, it was just preferences, choice, purpose, whatever you might think. And so just the utilization of harnessing and shifting energies by the intention of the heart, and then they knew how to actually use crystals to amplify it, to help to then call in crystalline energies so that things could shift. Crystalline energies is the soul or source energy cooperating with the energies, the intentions of the planet. And so that is the crystallization process. It takes both in order to have a material reality. And by the way, it should be noted that a fifth dimensional light body, if you will, is a material reality, because light is material and sound is material. Everything is, it's just the density, how compacted or collected together those the energy is to create certain denser or less dense materials. And so it's, again, it's not like so radical. It just seems radical to us. It seems so far-fetched to us because we don't we don't think that we experience it. However, they say we do, because we dream, we astral travel, and we are existing in our lighter bodies when we are sleeping, at the very least, and when we are astral traveling. Also, when we are meditating and we are in trance and we are healing and we are doing any of the things that many or all of us are experienced at this point, trained in and developed in, and that would be all of our intuitive psychic abilities. And they say that every time that we love, when we truly love, we are it's not any, they're saying it is literally not any more difficult than simply loving, because that is done with intention and with the energy of the heart. It is that simple. It feels exactly the same as it does to love, as to shift from a third density form to a fifth density form. So that's pretty cool. So they're basically saying we already know how to do it, and it's very natural for us, and that it is in alignment with our evolution and our movement forward, and it's not too far off. And what does that mean? I mean, the thing is that while cataclysms and major events can happen, they definitely don't foresee, they don't want us to think about it in some of the mythological, and meaning the dark mythologies about Armageddon and big collapses. While that can happen and has happened, I mean, we had a great collapse in probably most of our grandparents' or great-grandparents' life with the Great Depression and the crash of the stock market. There are other parts of our world, and some of the non-Western worlds mostly, that do have wars and terrible things that are happening. And it can happen in our Western world as well. That's not the point. And certainly being in fear of that or worrying about that as the gateway, the threshold that we must cross in order to do what is natural along our path, it's just not the focus that helps us at all. Because they say that at any point, I could be in a car accident tomorrow and that was my Armageddon. And there would be no point in me thinking about that, because that would actually cease my evolutionary path and just the development of my character and my soul. So there's no point in me even talking about that or thinking about it in any way that's, it doesn't need to have its place in our consideration of evolving spiritually. But in our practical world, it does have its place. We have savings and we have these different things. But if something does so cataclysmically happen, like it did to Lemuria, where these volcanoes literally caused their land to sink, there's nothing you can do about it. So certainly dwelling upon it is not a part of what they want to focus on at all. Okay? Rather, that the way that they came to be, so they want to show us the history, is that they actually had their development in all of their different star systems, and then they did immigrate to our planet, and then they came together and they unified in this way, and then they interbred and created this civilization. And there wasn't anything cataclysmic specifically to mention that, came along those paths, although there always are things that happen in creation. And so it's very natural. And then they say, while there is this, the sinking and they actually did migrate somewhere else and continue to exist, which I'm going to move into talking about now.
And we will be right back.
Hey, it's Tricia. I just wanted to remind you that this class was actually offered in Modern Mystic Life, and that is my subscription platform that's only $11.11 a month. Join us there for live monthly group meditations and workshops just like this one. And if you want to hear the rest of this workshop, then you will be able to hear it as a subscriber to Modern Mystic Life. Another feature of this subscription platform is that every week we are reviewing exclusive content just like this, so join us and expand.
And now back to the show.
When the land sank, they moved to more inner dimensions. They moved to the inner planes of the world. And it's both physically the inner physical planes, like the inner world, but it's also inner dimensions. So because, the ones who are still living and in their civilization are still 5D to 3D. They still have that experience. And so they actually exist. Their city is Telos, and I think it's a huge, huge city. It exists beneath Mount Shasta, and there's about 1.5 million Lemurians living and existing. Also, there is an etheric, so it is a light city, a city of light, 5D basically, a city of light called the Crystal City of the Seven Rays. And this exists etherically above Mount Shasta. So it is geographically high, in the ethers, but it's also invisible to our senses because it is fifth dimensional. Now we can see it with our third eyes. We can experience it and we can travel there, and we are welcome to. And thank you. So they're just telling me this right now. They're like, we are welcome to. We're also welcome to visit Telos. But they say that we would probably find great joy in visiting the City of the Seven Rays because it is the attuning that we would feel with that would be very powerful and very joyful. So many of us might want to actually just travel telepathically and receive that kind of attunement in the City of the Seven Rays. And so the plan, the forecast, if you will, is that the City of the Seven Rays will actually blend, become apparent, become real, if you will, to us, to Earth humans. The plan or the forecast was or is still hopefully in 12 to 20 years. We have all these Lemurians, approximately, 1.5, maybe 2 million living in Telos, and then I don't know how many are living in what the population would be for the City of the Seven Rays because it's an etheric city anyway, so who knows. And that we also have, like probably many of us, we would be called Lemurian starseeds, which it's funny because did you guys see the video and podcast that I did on Gaia starseeds? That was something I didn't realize that it was directly related to like what this class is. So that class, that podcast, that was a download that I got about people that, some people, they kind of feel like a starseed, but they don't really identify with some of those traits of like really hating it here and wanting to leave. Like some people say one of the traits of being a starseed is that you don't want to be here. And some people, they kind of feel all of the other traits, but they're like, but I really love it here. And I think it's magical and beautiful. And I want to eat it up. That's it could be because, they told me like a Gaia starseed, meaning probably that you come from Lemuria or Atlantean times. Maybe that was the last life you ever had here. Or maybe you just had a strong connection. Maybe you were just etheric or a guide or something like that. But your connection, you have a strong connection to this planet, also having star seeding, meaning other star systems. But you don't necessarily reject this planet because you love it too. And that's a part of your star seeding characteristic. So there are, some who, even at the time of the sinking, they didn't all transition to either the Telos or to the city of the seven rays. And it seems like they're telling me right now, but I don't know what anybody else thinks about this, that they created the city of the seven rays after Telos. Like that was established first, and then in a timeline sense, then they created the city of the seven rays. That was just kind of that was the order that they went in. As you know, we're raising our vibration. They're essentially waiting and supporting, and by a lot of ways, and are blending and coalescing together again. But it does require us to raise our vibration, and the total frequency has to raise enough for them to be able to, tolerate it. Besides the fact for us to be able to live like they do, even if we are, then let's say that, sure, they're maybe always going to be more advanced. So maybe they're going to be, but it doesn't mean they're better than us at all. So we might be kind of like learning a little bit more along the way, but that's just always the case. I mean, it's only our human ego that thinks that something is better than another. We have various innate capacities for IQ. I'm never going to have a 180 IQ, no matter what I did in my life. That's just not my path. And there are some people who, not that many, but some people who do have that capacity. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, having a lower IQ can be really beautiful. That can be a really beautiful life. So it's only the human ego that judges that. So just think of, maybe that's another example of what the balance will be like. And so as we are shifting this age, if you will, I shudder to say the word new age just because of how that has been so misused, but whatever, this epoch that we are moving into, it will be a more balanced gender polarity, but it will feel and almost like kind of demonstratively be more feminine dominant, just because it's a correction. But they want us to know that it's not an overcorrection, it's a correction, and it's not going to be, toxic femininity. That's not the plan. But it may seem to us like it's more dominant because it's needing to correct the course and rebalance. And so there will be, equal femininity, but maybe for the correction's sake, might need to take more of a lead in order to soothe and cure and take the leadership position, because the femininity has been abused and victimized. Okay, so that's Lemuria. That's what I have for you in this episode. Be sure to check the show notes for all of the cool things that are going on at this time and how we could work more closely together, and also how you could support the Charmed Life podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.